Creating DIY home decor that not only looks good, but is done on a budget and can work all year long can be a bit difficult. That's exactly what we're going to try to do. And as a bonus twist, I decided to give myself a dual challenge. Everything used in the DIYs today had to be made with supplies I already had in my craft stash. Secondly, each of these pieces had to be ones that you could easily incorporate into any season, letting you use them all year long.
For this DIY, I'm using these metal and particle board trays that I happen to have on hand, and I'm just removing the backing with a little screwdriver and then popping it out. I'm sorry, I didn't do a very good job of showing you what it looked like originally. Basically, I just sanded the back, any of the glue that was on it. Each of them had this "Bless This Home" written on the front, and although I enjoy the sentiment, I was going for something a little less wordy, so just going in with some sandpaper and sanding all of those words away. Next, I had this silver candlestick in my craft stash. I bought it at the thrift store a little while back for $4.99 for a set of 2. And I took both the metal frames and this candlestick out to the backyard and gave everything a quick coat of spray paint with some of my Rust-Oleum chiffon colored spray. And then I don't know what's wrong with me and filming this DIY, but I also forgot to film the part where I used some antiquing wax on both of those particle board rounds, just to make them look like actual stained wood. And then here you see me going in with a little bit of E6000 and then gluing and then screwing those particle boards back into place. Now, neither the top nor the bottom of the candle holder was completely flush, so I decided to use some construction adhesive to fill in that gapped area. And it's also going to act as that adhesive to hold both the tray at the bottom and the top. And then here we have the finished look. For this DIY, we're going to be using these embroidery hoops that I bought at the thrift store a while back, and they've just been sitting in my stash waiting to be used. And I'm going to pair it with this small spare piece of drop cloth that I got at Dollar Tree a few years back. So super simple, I just cut this piece of drop cloth down so that it would fit over the embroidery hoop and make a little pouch. And then I decided to add a little detailing with some chalk paint. I love doing this to drop cloths. Just go in with some chalk paint and a stencil and stencil on a subtle but attractive motif. Then lay your drop cloth over the smaller inside ring, fold it over to form that pouch, and then place the larger ring over top. Now, this cloth I'm working with was a little bit too small, so I had to tape it down and struggle with it a bit. So I would suggest cutting a larger piece if you can. And then I just folded the ends in and adhered it with a bit of hot glue on both the bottom part and then also on the inside part. And then I used the hot glue gun to just form some pockets along the back so that you could slide in some faux florals. And if you're enjoying these DIYs so far, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Oh, and make sure you're subscribed. For this next DIY, I found these two 12 by 12 wood canvases that I had in my craft room. And then I decided to have some fun with the power tools and cut down some spare wood we had on the table saw. And then I also just wanted to use hubby's new toy and plane these pieces of wood. But if you don't have these, just go to Home Depot and ask for 2x2s and have those cut down. Now that I had all my pieces assembled, I headed back to the AJP studio to put together the pieces. Start by using your newly cut boards to mark off where the wood glue is going to go. Start by gluing 2 of the boards to the bottom of one of the wood canvases and then clamp those both into place. Next, repeat this process but on the other canvas board on the other side of the newly cut boards. And then again, clamp that into place. Then using a long clamp, you're going to want to clamp those together on both sides so that it holds together both horizontally and vertically. You want those boards to fit really nice and tight in each of the corners so that the wood is meeting on all sides when the glue adheres. Now, I only had enough clamps to do 3 sides, and then I had to let that sit overnight, dry, set, so that I could do the 4th side in the morning. Now, sitting in my stash, I also had this smaller wood canvas that was rectangle shaped and this corbel that I found at the thrift store. So I decided to use some of that wood glue to adhere the corbel to the top of the smaller wood frame, smaller wood canvas. There really wasn't an effective way to clamp this in place, so I just sort of pushed it down and held it in place until it set. There was a large hole at the top of this corbel, so I stuffed some cloth in there, and then using more construction adhesive, I filled the hole, and then I had this curtain ring with a little hook at the bottom, and I stuck that inside of the construction adhesive, taped it, and then let it set overnight. The following day, I glued those 2 pieces to the top of the lantern, clamped that into place, and then let that set. I wanted to keep the ring black, so I taped that off with some painter's tape because I'm going to go in with this trim-clad semi-gloss white spray paint and give the whole thing a couple of coats of paint. And there you have it, a high-end looking lantern for pennies on the dollar. I can't wait to decorate this. Oh, especially for Christmas. But I'm dying to know what you think of this DIY. Okay, for this next DIY, we're keeping things super simple. I had this tin, the shortbread cookie tin that had been in the DIY room forever, and I decided today was the day we were going to use it. So I just simply applied a couple of coats of white chalk paint. Now, unfortunately, I'm super clumsy, and I knocked over the tin can when it was still wet, and it got all mucked up. And then I thought, why am I doing this hand painted? So I headed outside, grabbed myself some bare white chalk paint, and gave this whole thing a couple of coats of that spray paint. And I just do this from the beginning. I should have done this right from the beginning. I don't know what I was thinking. And the finished look, simple but attractive. For this DIY, I had this copper metal vessel that I thought would look perfect for the fall months, but would also work throughout the year. So I grabbed myself my bag of soy candle melts and my candle supplies and headed down to the kitchen. I decided to go with wood wicks because I thought that it would really complement the copper really well, and also that crackling would just be delightful throughout fall and Christmas. And because the vessel was so large, I decided to go with 3 wicks. I melted the soy candle wax until 180 degrees and then let it cool to about 130-ish, and then I carefully and gently poured it into the copper metal vessel, let that sit and set overnight, et voila, we have ourselves a beautiful candle that could be used all year long.
If you enjoyed that, make sure you subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. If you hit that notification bell, it'll let you know the next time I upload. Oh, and you might enjoy these.